Now, here in Spaces, we're talking innovation. And actually, when I asked earlier what were the characteristics of someone from Poland, I think one of the first words shouted out was innovation. There is a lot of innovators in the room. But this panel, this debate, is going to try and get to the heart of what actually innovation is and what it needs to thrive, and to thrive within that whole ecosystem, to build collaboration, to build partnerships, and to thrive at speed and scale. So that's what we'll be talking about. And actually, as well as thriving at speed and scale, to thrive from the very beginning as well. And I'm really pleased to say we have an absolute stellar panel to discuss this. So, ladies and gentlemen, let me just welcome our panelists. First of all, the Chief Marketing and Financial Services Officer from Poland's largest e-commerce site, the giant, of course, that is Allegro. Please welcome Wojciech Bogdan. Wojciech, come and join us. Thank you. We have the CEO of the financial giant BLIK, already being talked about a lot today. Please welcome Dariusz Mazurkiewicz. Thank you. And then from a creative powerhouse, we have the joint COO from CD Projekt Red, Paweł Zawodny. We also have joining us today the Vice President of Sales, a member of the board at the giant that I know you all recognize and know so well. That is InPost. Please welcome Dagmara Brzezińska. Thank you. And then finally, the CEO of the multi-award-winning Movie Master House. So pleased to have them there. Platige Image, please welcome Karol Żbikowski. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Karol. Come and take a seat. And I'm not sure how good my pronunciations were. I do hope I did. Oh, it was. Oh, I got that.
Okay.
Very good.
I tried my best. So, this panel is all about innovation. Now, what I thought I would do, I'm going to go along the line. I'll start with you, Wojciech, if I may.
Sure.
What does innovation mean to you? Please don't give me a whole essay, just a few words. So in a couple of words, I will go along the panel. What does innovation mean to you?
Okay, so for us, it is surprising and delighting customers along 4 promises: best choice, best price, best selection, and best rewards for loyalty. That's how we define it.
Okay, that's how you define innovation. It's the surprising as well.
Yeah.
I have to say, I love that. Okay, what is innovation? How do you define it?
I would go for long-term engagement of people and scale.
Okay.
Because innovation is very much about scale, putting in practice, not about innovation that is really closed in labs and being discussed as a potential future disruptor. It's about practical things that millions of customers are using. This is innovation.
So scale from the start, to have that really big vision. Okay, what does innovation mean to you?
So these were pretty short answers and compact. I have this temptation to maybe elaborate a little bit longer.
No, go on, give.
No, so basically for us, it's I think to understand, like to meaningfully answer it, you need to understand what business we're in, and that the products we are making are usually take like 5-6 years, and 300-400 people make them within budgets of like 100 or 200 million euros. And then we sell them all around the world in a really competitive and huge market, which is currently bigger than the film and streaming market. And we try to innovate actually there. And from this perspective, I kind of think of 3 areas.
Mm-hmm.
One is definitely the product. So it might sound cheesy, but in our mission statement, we actually have this creating revolutionary games like literary. So we try to think of, what product will surprise gamers, what product will define the new benchmark for our business, for our games, and we treat it really seriously. So it's kind of in our DNA and the culture. I can talk for long about it. I'll drop it here.
No.
So the
Surprise. Number 2 is?
The 2 is actually how you organize the company, so it's innovative, and what culture you create internally. And the 3rd is how you reach the audience, the gamers, and we also innovate a lot of, we also innovate there. So we try to reach the audience through various media, not only games. And like some time ago, it was the movies who inspired games. So there were games made based on movies. Now it's the other way around, and we try to create worlds which actually inspire other media, such as TV shows, books, comic books, to be based on our stories. So we innovate. Also, there's innovation about the actual reaching your audience.
We'll go into more about how you do it, what you do, and how you do it a little bit later. But so far, twice I've heard the word surprise. And it's about innovation, it's about coming up with something different. Dagmara, what about you?
So you'll hear it the 3rd time.
Oh,
Because
really?
Definitely, I think it's a breakthrough solution that will enhance the convenience of the consumers. I think convenience here is incredibly important. We live in a fast-paced time when the moment for, doing the regular jobs and things that we have to do every day, they need to be simplified to the absolute minimum in order to have the time and space for something that is needed and it's necessary. Therefore, what I believe is exactly all companies need to really focus on building the spot-on convenience for the consumer, to have a beautiful consumer journeys, to surprise with solutions that were not even needed for the consumer, because the consumer found out about them and all of a sudden they just realize it's a revolutionary method to, for example, deliver in a fast way. So this is, on the burden of every innovative company is the creation role that it needs to be fulfilled in order to really surprise and give this convenience. So it's a breakthrough, convenience building, surprise, let's say.
I like the breakthrough of almost coming up with something that the customer didn't know they needed.
Exactly.
Yeah, and again, it is that surprise. Paweł, I can see you nodding at that one as well. And Karol, finally, innovation, what does it mean to you?
I like simple definitions. For me, it means progress, it's about organizing things or producing things in a more efficient way. So, of course, we often think about innovation as of product innovation, but in a lot of cases, it's about organization. It's about organizing things and doing things the new way, or organizing teams the new way. But it's all about progress.
Progress, absolutely. Progress is innovation, isn't it? Do you think, all of you sitting here, all with such a lot of experience in these fields, different fields, but such a lot of experience, do you think that innovation, to be the companies that have the culture that is looking to surprise, to delight, but to come up with the products before the consumers realise they need them. Do you think that can be learnt within a company, or is it just inherently natural? Either a company can do that, or it can't. Yeah, go for it, Wojciech. Yeah.
So I think we've been practicing this for years now, and what we have learned is that we can clearly channel innovation. Channel and structure this innovation by, first of all, focusing on a very bold ambition. And frankly, it starts with the ambition. Without the ambition, anything you develop is going to be mediocre. So ambition is number 1. Number 2 is actually the talent. And number 3 is to have a structured process in which you provide the focus for the key initiatives that really pin what is most important for the customers. And that's what I said. The 4 promises is something that we do invest. And again, it's about choice, price, convenience, and rewarding for loyalty. And in each of these 4 pillars, we've been driving new products for years now, starting with smart financial services, logistics, etc., etc. One payment solution. And I think the other critical aspect is to also partner with the right business partners, because partnerships will really help to drive innovation. And I have two distinguished colleagues here with whom we've done a lot with payments and with BLIK since 2017, and with InPost. We've been building e-commerce infrastructure and e-commerce convenience in this country.
So it sounds to me that what you're suggesting is that it is both. It is inherently a natural process, but it has to have the learnt systems there.
Yeah.
Dagmara, do you agree?
Well, I think it's also on building on top of Wojciech, what you said, is actually also the culture. So we have to really encourage the culture that is bold, that is very courageous. So having the talents that can challenge the authorities very often and challenge our yesterday's achievements and also solutions, that's the way forward. So we have to be, in a sense, paranoid in the context of creation and recreation of what we already have, just to learn from what we have created yesterday, to see whether we have to reinvent it again and maybe create something new. So I agree with what you exactly said, that the right talents and streamlining that in the correct framework is the key. The same as we did with InPost Pay, for example. So also the payments that we have created, when we just decided that one click with the delivery method and payment method is the one that the consumer will need, but it actually required from us challenging the status quo, because it's a different journey from the consumer, so we do not know what's going to happen. And the culture of giving the fearless solutions, so not to be afraid, to risk sometimes. In the innovative companies, you cannot be feared. You have to risk, and you cannot also deliver solutions which are 100% done. I don't know if you noticed, innovative companies are learning in a progress of launching the product on the market. And then they are finding out what's needed, what is the reaction of the consumers, how can we tune it even further. So in order to enhance that, the culture of the company needs to be different. It has to be a constant feedback, constant. It cannot be like, a corporate structure with a long decision process. Immediate feedback, immediate challenging of authorities, even up and down. Doesn't matter. Everybody has to have the voice and the possibility to challenge each other and challenge status quo.
I mean,
it's a difficult culture, by the way.
That's a really difficult culture, and that sort of leads into the being able to fail well and learn from failure. Dagmara, you've just mentioned so many different things there, so many vital things. One of the words that you used at the beginning, which I picked up on, was paranoid.
Yeah,
that's really interesting. Quick show of hands. Has anyone ever thought of an innovative company needing to be paranoid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's because but it sounds like such a negative word, doesn't
it's
it?
It's
not. No, but it is. It's like that. What's someone else going to do? What do you think, Karol?
I believe in decentralization when it comes to innovation. I think that everyone in the company should be involved, and of course, you can have R&D department who is responsible, but it cannot be the bottleneck, and it cannot be the only responsible unit for innovation. Like, everyone is responsible. Of course, you need to support the culture. You need to create innovation culture, which means people cannot be afraid of proposing something new. So it's part of the culture that you can support. The more decentralized it is, the more effect it brings.
Okay, let's try and get a practical example of that then, because if you're saying it has to be a culture where everyone can have their voice heard, I'm guessing, and you have what you were talking about, Dagmara, about that, the failing well, if you do. What has anyone got anything in their company that they can point to now, which is a process where mad ideas can come forward and they can be discussed in a good, open way? Dariusz, what about you? You're looking very thoughtfully at me, as if you're thinking about this.
Thank you for saying, because on one side I'm trying to answer your question, but on the other hand, I couldn't agree more with Dagmara and Wojciech. It's incredible that they are sharing exactly the same perspective that we are sharing with BLIK. There is a beautiful word that is defined as one of our BLIK, I would say, corporate value that we are sharing internally. But unfortunately, I will not translate it into English. It's a word that we call samodzielność, with a particular accent on the second part of the word, that I'm personally brave. You know, there are a lot of Poles you understand it. I'm personally brave. It means that I'm open to risk because I will never be guilty. There is no fault. There can't be a question within an organization, whose fault is this? This is something that cannot exist if we are talking about innovation. Once the question arises within the organization, the innovation is killed. Nobody will risk anything. And we are trying to behave like more securing our position than risking our position. This is critical because on the other hand, I do agree with Wojciech, there is a huge need for structure, long-term structure. It cannot be a democratic voting, what do we do tomorrow, and so on. There must be a pipeline, there must be a strategy, there must be a roadmap. So balancing on one side, I would say this self-courage and probably coming up with different vision, different perspective, different ways of working, sometimes cooperating and competing with partners on the in parallel, which is sometimes difficult to understand that we can compete and partner in the same in different markets. But on the other hand, providing a vision, structured vision, and a roadmap vis-a-vis the stakeholders that are really requiring this, I think this is a kind of state of the art of the leadership within organizations. And this is critical, just to have not one-time, one-shot innovation, to come up with a beautiful product that will be estimated with a great esteem in the market, with, I would say, with wow effect. But really, step by step, coming with innovation on a regular basis, like a factory, and surprising people. I learned today in the morning that you are starting press distribution, Dagmara.
Exactly.
So, you know, every time with something new, you are surprising on a regular basis the market. Yeah. And this is incredible, because it doesn't mean about, this is only, you know, about your lockers, fantastic infrastructure that we are providing, but the business cases that are inside this innovation on top of the innovation. So people definitely need to be brave, they can risk, and if they fail, the only thing we can do is learn from this and not making people guilty.
But what you're saying sounds fabulous, okay? This is an absolute culture to aspire to, but that it doesn't always work like that. And how do you ensure that you have processes built within your company to encourage that risk-taking, particularly when you are working in the industry that you are, which is so heavily regulated and with such penalties if things go wrong? And incidentally, we'll come on to regulations later, but let's just look at the innovation and the culture now. How do you practically ensure that that culture seeps throughout the organization so that there is that risk?
You know, there are many things that are really necessary to ensure the long-term innovation process. In our case, I think that what is really critical is very early stage communication with stakeholders. This is absolutely important to talk about the vision, about the things that will potentially come up to the market within next 2-3 years' time. We are not talking about something that will be delivered to the market next week, next month, within 6 months' time. We are talking about our role in the longer perspective. Once the stakeholders, it's important to mention that we are really dependent on our 6 big banking groups in Poland. So we do need to share the vision on regular basis. When it's clearly communicated that our vision is to provide this and that service, and to provide this and this functionality, to provide, this type of our role in the market within next 3-year time, and we discuss it right now, not at the very last stage, for example, when we are coming I would say, to programming, to developing, to the classical project management process, but discussing the vision, everything, and we agreed on this, everything is easier at the next steps. People really, I would say, embrace that it's not only about the vision, but this is also the vision that is already shared, communicated. Yes, we want to do this within the next 3 years' time. I think that this is important from the strategic point of view, to have this strategy and execution run in parallel, I would say. Because many times we think about the vision, you are discussing announcing press distribution. It must have been discussed, delivered, processed, and maybe there was a vision of this, that you will play yet another role in the market, for example. It's not coming from one day to another. So I think the long-term organized strategy discussion is critical. Yeah.
Okay, Wojciech, go.
So I think there was a point about bottom-up innovation. We went through that phase. Actually, during COVID, we released all the valves and basically started to hire like crazy because of the upside that we were gaining through COVID and the lockdowns. 2 years, we basically increased our staff by 3,000 engineers and business people, and totally released fully bottom up. What it turns out to is like thousands of initiatives, but really not focused. And we needed to rebalance towards much more structured top-down strategy and bold future vision. And I think you raised a very interesting point about relevance. What is our relevance in the future, and how we are going to maintain the relevance? What we have today and how we serve today is not going to be the way that customers would like to be served in 5 years down the road. I don't think that in 5 years down the road, people will be ordering online. They will have AI agents that will be their personal shopping assistants, who will order for them to their preferences. We need to prepare for it. It's a different type of relevance. It's a different type of interaction. It's also a different set of technology that we need to have. So the relevance aspect should be always in front of us. And then, because I said we focus on those 4 big pillars, we really drill down every pillar, what it means to surprise and delight. And also, and I think another point for us is always at scale.
Yeah.
At scale simply is a must.
We've got...
I have one more question, one more thing.
Sure.
In our case, I think there was a lot about failing. We call this culture fail fast, learn fast. And this is super important that when you have the failure, you really are fast on cutting it and moving on, taking the learning and move on to the next execution, move on to the next idea. A similar idea, but different execution can be the right investment.
That's the failing well, isn't it? Of understanding the processes after a failure, recognising it and moving on. We've got 2 people on the panel, actually, from very different types of industries. So we have 2 creative industries on the panel as well. From everything that you've heard, how does that innovation culture and the failing well, does that apply to you right the way through, Paweł?
Yeah, it's super important. I mean, I kind of agree with everything that has been said so far. And this, so you need the ambition, you need the right talent, and you need some resources, of course, which is money usually. And you need some kind of structure to make sure that that the talent can really, strive and create great ideas. And I think it's actually super difficult to do it. You mentioned it, right? That it's a very hard process. So what we try to do in creative projects, we usually dedicate a part of the project, like the first year or something. The longer the better. The more time the creative people have to experiment, the better. But we dedicate a part of it to invent, to look for ideas, to prototype them, to prove that they can, work. And only where we are kind of sure that we can deliver a great product based on that, and it is ambitious enough, then we move into the production of the game. But also, what we try to do, and I want to say that it's very hard to balance between this, be creative, try new ideas, and if you fail, that's okay. you have deadlines, you have budgets, you have a lot of people, you have to manage your production that actually, it's trying to control everything and make things happen quickly. So it's very difficult to balance. And in addition to that, what we try to do is also create teams that are varied, interdisciplinary, basically. So they are not like just programmers or just artists, but we try to mix people so they inspire one another. And also what we do, and I think it's very important from our perspective, that we create, we try to inform the whole team about the state of the project, the creative vision. So we invest a lot into actually, showing what we have, describing what the vision is, so it's totally transparent for the whole company, basically, because only then people can come and and throw some really cool ideas into what we have already.
But what you've just described is a whole year of cost. Yeah. I mean, actually, to both of you, you plough all of that money in and time when you're not really quite sure on a creative level if it's going to hit the spot. I mean, because that's that great unknown in the creative world, isn't it? Where you can have a hit that no one was prepared for and you can't explain why, or something that is absolutely going to be a hit, and then for whatever reason it doesn't work. So that must be super difficult when you're trying to innovate. Karol?
Of course, although creative, you also have to be well structured, yes. And
What is written can be done right now. And this is why sometimes it's provoking some tensions. And I think that I would say our presidency right now, the discussion, we see really great opportunity really to profit from the 6-month slot right now, just to raise those questions, because not everything is done. But probably it's not easy, because right now we are more talking about deregulation than repairing regulation. So there is still a lot of work to be done within regulations, especially in payments and banking sector. We've heard that capital markets are unifying right now, are being unified. But for the banking sector, for the payment sector, there is still a lot to be done, probably by withdrawing some regulations that nobody really needs them.
It's a point that I'm sure many in the audience will agree with. Dagmara, I'm going to come to you next, and then I'll talk about the challenges to innovation within the creative world. But would it be regulation for you and differing regulations that is the biggest barrier to innovation, or is it something else?
To be honest, we, of course, in expanding to other countries, we are facing different regulations in different countries. So
and is it stopping you?
It is not stopping. So that's why I would look at a little bit different aspect of what's challenging for the innovation. I think from internal point of view, what is actually hindering the companies? This is, first of all, a very complex structure within the company. So this kind of corporate, loads of places and so on. Which are really stopping the decision process. And that's, in my opinion, really challenging in terms of innovation. I think also from my perspective, I see that when the companies only have one R&D place, this is just like, putting everything into one corner. But then what we did is actually every part of the company has its own innovation lab. It's a completely different approach. So from the perspective of the inner company structure, it's also super crucial because the challenges are there. So we cannot say that in every company people are so eager to innovate and risk and they're so fearful and so on. It's not. So we have to create this culture all the time and impose it. And this is the challenge, because not always the right talents are eager to risk their careers. That's exactly what you, Derek, mentioned before. Because, of course, everybody wants to succeed, but then no blaming culture is the one that may solve this, but it has to come from above. I mean, I'm always repeating that. If the leaders are not there, then you can do hundreds of different initiatives and it will not happen. This is the challenge. So the right mindset of the leaders is really important one.
So you've gone very much for the biggest challenge can be an internal one.
For sure.
Rather than an external influence.
For sure.
Let's look at the creative industries now, because I'm sort of guessing that you have different challenges to innovation.
Yes, of course, we operate in less regulated world, yes, and so we not so much dependent on regulations, but of course we are technology dependent, so a lot depends on technology changes on the market, like artificial intelligence, for example. So we have like external threats that pushes us to innovate. But I noticed one kind of dependence that the more successful you are, the less innovative you are. So I mean, if the teams feel safer, we are now so safe, we have this part of the market, then the innovation momentum drops. So you need to push it all the time. Yeah?
You need that paranoia.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
you need that paranoia, exactly. So that's why this process of supporting innovation is so important. And I completely agree with this approach of having, I would say, a lot of innovation centers in the company. So like one center is a bottleneck, and if you have many places in the company who are responsible for innovation, that supports this this innovation spirit in the company.
Thank you for mentioning AI, because that will be an area that, as always with a new area, there is that air of uncertainty as to how it's going to impact, how it is, what the regulations will be, the AI Act and everything like that, but how it impacts on you. I mean, do you recognise any of what Karol's just said, Paweł?
I do. From the creative business perspective, I'd like to highlight a few more things. One is that we are fairly rarely invited to consult on these areas. So when it comes to regulations, law, even if we're in a huge industry, which is really big, really popular, we would like to be consulted more, basically, and we're happy to help with, because our business is specific. The second one is that you mentioned, I think you mentioned, which is the fragmentation of the regulations, which is also hindering the talent acquisition or building the teams in general. So basically, when you hire people currently, you can have them working remotely from any country, basically around the world. But even in Europe, there are countries where to hire someone like normally on an employment contract, you need to set up your own entity within that country to be able to do so. So let's say you have one person from France that is doing some amazing, swords or something. To have a full employment contract, you need you need actually a legal entity in France to be able to hire them. And to avoid that, sometimes companies, they use some kind of other contracts fully legally, but they are not so super, cool from the perspective of the governments, of course. And another thing which is really important, that the regulations from the perspective of the internal teams and the mindset that we are talking so much about, so that people can they want to experiment, I think they are also very often hindering this creative process, because people, they are not sure what they can experiment with. Even if it's legal, there's a lot of publicity about things being a bit shady, especially in AI. So it is something that if it was clarified better and easier, I think it would also affect the internal teams.
Incidentally, it's fabulous having you two creative industries on the panel, because the reaction there from InPost, from the financial services, from the e-commerce was like, oh, I want to be in that team. I want to talk sword fights more on a daily basis.
To be honest, I think that we also perceive ourselves as creative industries.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that is a really good...
But no swords required.
You need creativity everywhere, maybe not in accounting.
Well, very good point. Just running along the line, are you a tech company?
We are a tech
You're tech?
Yeah.
Do you see yourself as finance or tech?
Fintech.
Fintech?
There you go.
Are you tech or are you creative?
Entertainment, but heavily tech-based.
Yeah. Are you postal or tech?
For sure, it's tech.
Tech?
We are like tech creative. We are in both worlds.
It is fabulous. And if I'd have asked the same question, say, 10 years ago and be like, well, no, we do this, we do that. But now it is all tech. Go.
I think we are proudly tech.
Yeah.
And the proudly tech is really something which gives an obligation to be on the leading edge. Technology is evolving constantly, and each of us is basically looking into what's next. 3-5 years down the road, wow, the business will be totally different. People will be doing this, everything that they do today, in a different way. So, we are proudly tech.
Go on, let's. I'm going to open the floor to questions in a moment, but just in a couple of words, 5 years from now, what will your customers be doing then?
Well, I think that they will be using machine.
Okay.
Their personal assistant who will shop for them based on their preferences. And the big question is, how do you loyalize these shop assistants so they shop and continue to shop with your platform? It's a totally different world if you think about it. How we are going to communicate with these shop assistants, there are going to be millions of them. They will not need a visual interface. They will just talk machine to machine. And they will choose the best product. They will choose the quickest and most convenient delivery method. And they will pay like this.
So the emotion comes out of it. It's
Exactly.
M to M. It's no longer M to C.
And then you think, how do we build a relationship with the human who is behind that machine? And that's going to be a total different interplay of things, in my view.
Yeah, but what about the pleasure of shopping? Guys, I mean, let's be frank. This is the
Dagmara,
beauty of
I
it.
know. But I think that there will be different segments. Some
There you
people, as you said, are very busy.
Yes.
And they will outsource this to the machine, while some will still like the traditional shopping, physical or online with visual assistance. I think that people will be more and more really looking for the convenience will come to a total different level.
Yeah.
You've got to work your way through it. Well, what will your customers be doing in 5 years?
Thank you for this question. For us, it's really clear that there will be less and less visible payment processes.
Yeah.
Payments will be more and more hidden, like behind the shopping experience.
Exactly.
But it doesn't really mean that people will no longer control the budgets and finances. So managing the control of the financials of customers, but on the other hand, consuming without particular payment process, this is the challenge. And I think that the system and the solution that will find the right balance between the control and the really comfort of shopping and consuming will be winning. We already see that consumption is changing. We see that it's more and more subscription to services than buying goods. We will less and less, probably it's being disrupted a little bit right now, but in longer perspective, there will be less possession, ownership, there will be more consuming, or consumption of services. It means that payments need to follow, need to support those processes and not blocking this process. We're still in a moment where there would be even more consumption if the payment solutions and payment processes would be really, let's say, better fitting to different consuming models. We are following them.
Yeah.
And once we, find the right balance, we'll be also providing banking services for the process, because for us it's also important to put bank in the right place in the process. We think that banks can be great again, I would say. And not big techs that will really disrupt the whole, let's say, financial, consumer finance segments that is really happening right now. We already see this.
Yeah.
There is a kind of already visible competition between big techs playing more important role in the, let's say, payments area and financial area, and banks are being more and more agile and more, I would say, fintech oriented with agile approach, providing the services. They need to do so. We are in Poland doing this for quite a while, and we think that there is still huge space for several different markets really to provide this type of...
The banking industry has gone through such a transitional process over the last few years already, hasn't it? People still be using your lockers 5 years?
I'm sure about that.
Good.
I don't know if any one of you have been recently to China. I think that was, for me at least, that was a groundbreaking in terms of seeing how, European Union and generally Europe is still behind some of the solutions that China has. It's sometimes very, it's worth it to go and see what is the innovation speed as well in logistics and, e-commerce as such. InPost is an e-commerce enabler. So in our context, in 5 years' time, we are not talking about only the change in the convenience of the delivery methods, but overall, how can we improve even further the convenience of e-commerce shopping, enhancing the convenience that, Wojciech, you mentioned, different methods of doing the shopping, which I disagree. I still think pleasure of shopping is important. But, having said that, I think this is really crucial to see that we are not going to be, and we are not anymore, only the logistic company. We are enabling fast convenience e-commerce, and this will progress for sure, on different levels, not only on the logistical part.
It's interesting you mentioned China, because that is, again, the culture of understanding how to fail and failing fast. Really, really briefly, 5 years from now, what games will our sons and daughters be playing?
So we are pretty sure, I'm pretty sure, and that players around the world will still crave for really, great stories.
Yep.
That are deep, emotional, touch difficult themes and ask questions. And we see ourselves as the creators of such, of content, of media that deliver those stories. So we really think of it as a connection, kind of artistic connection between humans that create things and the humans that experience them. And we hope that the new technologies emerging right now will help us create bigger and better products, basically.
Yeah.
I think there will be more and more people, of course, playing video games, and people need engaging stories, so the film and game consumption, of course, will be going up.
More good tie-ups with Netflix?
Well, it's already a lot.
Yeah.
It's already a lot. But it will be more and more difficult to recognize what's real, what's computer generated. Yeah. It's taking place already, but I think in 5 years' time, technology will be even better, and you will not be able to recognize what's real, what's computer generated.
That is a whole other conversation when it comes to misinformation, fake news, and everything like that, which sadly, obviously, we're not going to start to go into, but goodness me, you reckon within 5 years it'll be very difficult to tell what is real and what is not. Let's open the floor to questions. I'm going to let it be a free-for-all. So if there's something, a point or a comment that you also want to throw towards our amazing panel here with all such different experiences, or maybe you'd just like to hear them say more about a particular area. Have we got any questions in the audience? Raise your hands for me if we have, or any thoughts or anything like that. Yeah, there we go. Brilliant. Let's get a microphone to you down there. Oh, no, I think we've got some at the back. Have we got a microphone there? So I saw 2 gentlemen with their hands up, I think. Would you mind introducing yourself? Thank you.
My name is Marek Przor. I'm from the European Commission, from Directorate General for Industry and Internal Market. And you might probably know, the European Commission is now preparing the startup and scale-up strategy. So you're kind of scaling up to the EU level. What kind of piece of advice would you give to the Commission by preparing the strategy? We've just finished the consultation, we've got lots of input, but you are from the Poland, let's say, Polish examples of potential scaling up at the EU level. What do you need at the EU level, at the internal market, so that you can scale up? Because we don't have really many Polish EU-wide companies, so we need it.
Thank you. Yeah, go for it.
I can start. So I think, first of all, I said that before that regulation can be healthy. But there's not so much that is healthy, actually. There is a lot that needs to be done in regulation. And I would start with unification and simplification across all the markets. We don't have a single market today. And for all of us to scale internationally, we need to tackle multiple different regulatory setups. These are different interpretations, country-based interpretations and implementations that really hinder us to go seamlessly across Europe. This one to me is the most important. And then the second one is about level playing field, and it's about enforcing what we already have, DSA, DMA, GPSR, to the same level to all the players in the market. Not only European tech champions need to comply, but everyone who is coming from outside as well. This is really hindering our business growth, and I think EU and Commission is not seeing enough how these Asian platforms are actually affecting European commerce digital space.
That is a conversation that I think needs to continue. Does anyone else want to come in on this? Advice on scaling up, what is needed?
Well, for sure, we definitely need, of course, on the regulatory point, Wojciech, you have already mentioned, but I think what we need is the support of the also administration that is in the cities, for example. So especially for the logistics and delivery methods, the last mile, that is really crucial. It's important to treat everybody equally and the same. Our strategy for decarbonization is the vital part of our business strategy. And I would like every company to be treated the same way. Of course, everybody heard about the story about the tax paying, in Poland from InPost versus other non-Polish companies that pay less taxes altogether instead of one InPost paying for Poland, being a Polish company. So I would like this to be an obvious way as well to treat everybody equally. And being as a company who is treating, as I said, the decarbonization strategy so strongly and developing for that a very expensive fleet of electric cars, changing the APMs, so our parcel machines into the ones which are powered by the solar energy and, buying the renewable energy sources, then it means that we would love to be treated exactly in the same way. So the rules should be applied in the same equal way to everybody, every player on the market in the European Union.
I imagine you're dealing with different regulations on when you talk about last mile, things like drones and the like, if coming down the line. Yeah, some places yes, some places no. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please do. Yeah.
If I may, I would add one thing which I think is really important to mention is that different type of grants and financial backing, supporting VCs from the, I would say, EU funds-backed solutions like, PFR, PARP in Poland and so on, should be provided in a way to guarantee not to block agility of startups. There were too many stories in the past that a promising startup received some support, but unfortunately they need to pivot, they needed to change the strategy, but having this grant really forced them to stick to the initial idea, because otherwise there will be administrative problems, and they just needed to keep the initial idea, even taking into account that this is probably no longer relevant. We talked about changing strategy, agility. Financing startups cannot freeze them with the grants. So this kind of flexibility should be guaranteed. Once they are financed, they're still allowed to change the strategy, and not because they filled in some, forms with some servers acquisition, buying whatever, they need to buy it right now. So I would emphasize this part.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, just one additional point, which is regulation is being shaped here in Brussels. And I think all the leading businesses, I would really encourage to be present here permanently. Institutions really like to talk to frontline business experience and what it takes to really win in Europe across the markets. And that's the reason why Allegro has opened a permanent office here yesterday in Brussels after being many years part-time. And we see the value in that. And I think this is something that we can co-create, collaborate, and shape.
Indeed, yeah. Yesterday you opened that, so you are now here permanently. We've got another question from the audience. Yes, please.
Hello, my name is Ivana Przygoda. I'm representing Łukasiewicz Institute of Aviation. And one comment in terms of regulation that are actually bad in terms of, for example, drones, but they are very needed when looking, for example, to the space industry. You may saw last time. There's not much regulation now, so they are needed. But my question goes to the ecosystem of the innovations. I have a question to our great panelists. In terms of the cooperation with the R&D institutes, the companies or the organizations that are actually created for bringing the innovation from the very low TLR. And the question is, I'm asking, of course, the Polish area, because I know how it works in different countries. For example, in Germany, in the US, there's a really strong cooperation with R&Ds and companies. And my question is, do you think that there is a chance to do this kind of ecosystem also in Poland? And because it may bring a lot of good points. For example, you don't have to hire so many engineers. You can work with some other, as I said, R&Ds or academia to bring the innovation from the lower level.
Thank you. Yeah, Paweł, please do. Yeah.
I would really welcome these kind of initiatives. Actually, we had one with NCBR, where we have a team and they built a parallel team for an AI project. And that's exactly something we need, as we don't have enough resources to finance these kind of innovative projects, which are usually resources consuming. And our teams are booked on operational projects. And of course, we are not an R&D company. Yes, we are an operational company. We need to deliver projects to our clients, and we are in tight competition. And this kind of, I would say, support and these kind of initiatives are a very good way to support innovation and the companies like ours.
Totally, yes. And also, grants are fantastic, and we are grateful for them, and we use them to some extent. But also, grants are usually for small and medium companies. It's not that easy for a big company to apply for a thing like that. And big companies usually have more resources to actually spend on R&D, and then the knowledge spreads anyway, because people migrate between companies. So I think it's worth also in this area. But to add to that, I think that something on a smaller scale could also work. So some kind of a bridge between business and academia, where you can easily find just one scientist that will work with you on a single thing, and it's somehow legally constructed, maybe also through some subventions. I don't know. I think it would be very, very good to do in Poland too. We are actually doing a thing like that outside of Poland, in Canada, because it's very easy to hook up with a scientist like that.
Yeah,
it's first mention of Canada. Yeah.
And one more comment, that things are accelerating in technology, especially with the artificial intelligence. So you need more and more resources, even to check new things which are on the market, and new tools coming to the market every day. And it's not about making a decision, it's about knowing what to check even. So these kind of support from institutes would be a perfect way to support the business.
Any more comments or questions from the audience, or anyone who's working in what they feel is an innovative field that they could resonate maybe with anything you've heard here?
Thank you very much for your time. My name is Wojciech from Europa Bio, the European Association for Bioindustries. A quick question just to see if this also resonates with you on two topics that we haven't discussed so much today, which is state aid and brain drain and access to skills. Something that we hear very, very often with Polish companies as well, but also in Ireland and the Netherlands, is very difficult to get people. These fields are very, very technical, so we don't have a lot of personnel. They run away to places where they get more money. And even if you are from a rich country in the Nordics, you still can compete with six figures in the US, in California. And here in Europe and in Poland, for you to have these people in your companies, you have to give them an interesting lifestyle. So they need to be anchored in Warsaw, they need to be anchored in Krakow. But for you to be in those places, you are automatically not going to be able to access state aid rules for you to develop because you are already in a big center. And we see this in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, in Dublin. Does this also resonate with you in your sectors, or how do you play with this?
It's a classic challenge, isn't it? That of brain drain, yeah.
I think we are a very good example. Before the pandemic, we were like fully local. All employees were Polish. Today, 25% of the team is international. Of course, the pandemic, but we are in a fully digital activity. Yes, we don't have any physical infrastructure. Of course, we have server farms, we have some computers, but they can be located in Poland, they can be located in Canary Islands, anywhere, yeah? Canary Islands is not accidental, we're opening a branch there. So, because of the support for the film industry. But it's a big challenge to find really good tech people right now. So we seeking globally. Yes, we have people from all time zones, I would say, right now.
I'm going to imagine that it's the same challenge for all of you, yeah. But has anyone got any great examples of things they've put in place to try and reverse this? Or any ideas that you are thinking of trying, or the way you're doing it? There are some great looks on your faces, by the way, of like, yes, this is a problem.
I think you need to have a value proposition. You really need to have a value proposition to those engineers, tech staff, but also other domains experts. And the value proposition actually is all very often builds on what is the work and how innovative, creative, and how big things you can build here with this business. So that's, to me, is something that really attracts this type of talent. And because of the higher salaries that are offered for remote engineers, we need to pay well.
Yeah.
We need to pay well for these roles.
We do.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, for us, this value proposition are the IPs, the projects, yes, because artists love working on like big IPs, like Disney IPs or The Witcher. So that's true. This value proposition is very important.
I mean, both of you within the creative space have got those real leading brands and those leading sort of hits that you have to attract people. You are all the big brand names as well, but I don't know whether it is reassuring or not for people to see that actually, yeah, it is a challenge that you are dealing with. That is a challenge that we're going to have to continue in one-to-one conversations. If anyone wants, are you happy if anyone approaches you for a chat about anything that you've talked about? Absolutely. Fabulous, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you've enjoyed this conversation. We've been streaming live, but also we're recording everything. So if you've missed anything or want to go back or share with any of your colleagues, it's all going to be available later as well. But for now, please thank all my panellists here on stage. Thank you.